If you're going to be at PAX Prime, come see us live Saturday, 9:30 p.m. That's August 29th at the show in the Chicken Theater. For more details, hit up the PAX site at prime.paxsite.com, and we hope we'll see you there. I feel like I could call a hardware store and be like, can you guys put together a box frame for me? And they probably would.
Isn't there a level of satisfaction that you got from doing that yourself?
Yeah, it's already
DIY?
gone. It's already gone. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens.
Oh, life.
Getting wistful?
Yeah.
You guys can't see, but he's got a super giant tea mug. He's just holding it with both hands and looking out the window. We call that McAdamsing.
It's weird that we decided to do this episode at the cabin.
Yeah.
On the porch of the cabin.
He's just wrapped in a thick blanket thinking about his life. There are a bunch of old yearbooks up here. They aren't even his.
No, but you know what? They bring back other people's memories.
Sense8 on Netflix. Sponsored.
B Daggers sent us this story to wehaveconcernshow@gmail.com.
Is that his hip hop name?
I think it is.
That's a good hip hop name.
B Daggers.
B Daggers? I like that.
Cool. He could have also sent it to our subreddit at wehaveconcerns.reddit.com. This is a story about perception, about life, about age. It's putting into perspective, your perspective about how time passes. So basically the thesis of the story is something that I think we all sort of know intuitively, which is the experience of going through time changes as you get older.
Yeah.
The older you get, the faster time goes by. My father used to say, life is like a roll of toilet paper. It goes faster the closer you are to the end, right?
Yeah.
which this story is basically saying is the truth. It says that by the time you reach age 7, half of the life you experience is already over.
The way you perceive time.
Right, because the way you perceive time as a younger person, you actually perceive it to be longer because it's a larger portion of your life.
Well, yeah, because it's all about frame of reference, right? So, like, you have only experienced short periods of time.
Right.
So that's all you have to compare. Like
when you're 1 year old, a year is 100% of your life. So it's the longest time that you can possibly imagine because it's been your entire life. And as you get older, you get to age 7, a year is 1/7 of your life is a year. So it feels really long, which is why in your memory, waiting till Christmas always felt like forever, or summer vacation felt like it would go on for so long. And nowadays, it seems like it goes by so quick.
What does this mean for me, being somebody who's actively blocked out most of his childhood and teenage years?
You basically lost the majority of your life.
But could it also mean that I experience time slower than you? Because number one, you're a 47-year-old man.
That's not true.
So you're much older than me.
That's not true.
And then number two, having blocked out a large portion of time, is it my frame of reference messed up?
Probably. You're probably ruined.
I mean, I know a lot of stuff about me is messed up because of that, but, what about my perception of time? Specifically, perception of time is what we're talking about.
I think, your general personality and perception of time.
Sure. So this is cool because it's presented in this weird kind of little interactive site you can go to, right?
It's cool. Yeah, you scroll through it and it's built like a graph, so it shows the relative percentage of how it feels to go through that amount of time. So you're scrolling.
This is cool. We'll put the link down below. But what I think is interesting is as I was scrolling through this, it gives me, it gives you little factoids. And by the time you hit, I think it's something like it's your 30s or your mid 30s.
Yeah.
All years feel the same. Like
that levels off.
Yeah. That shortening, which actually made me feel a lot better because I was super, super frightened that it was going to keep accelerating, and that by the time I was 70, it would be like, I woke up yesterday and I was 50 and now it's time for death.
I mean, I think that's how it feels though.
But I mean, but what this graph is saying is that it doesn't. Every year
does level off. It says by the time you're 35, 1 year is 2.86% of your life. And that after 30, the proportion begins to level off. So basically in your mid 30s, it's like we all say, man, that year just went by so quick. Oh, it was summer again. It just feels like it went by so quick. That's not just an anecdotal. That's scientific. That actually is how you perceive time. Which is kind of depressing to me, because I feel like when you get to that age where you're able to really appreciate life, it's all going by so quickly.
But what if you're like super, okay, this is another question about me personally. This is specifically about me. Mm-hmm. What if you're a super enlightened person?
Right. So it's not about you.
Who takes every day, who really takes every day as the gift that it is. And experiences the joy of every second. And I can't keep this up. But what if you are one of those people?
Right.
Like one of those, like, say you're one of those people who meditates or is overly positive or is learning to live presently in the moment. Does that affect your perception of time at all?
I don't think it does. I mean, clearly this study seems to
because those people are smug fuckers, and I don't want them to have anything over me.
Those people are just wasting the few precious seconds that they perceive on sitting still and not doing anything.
Yeah, real cool. Let me tell you something. It's all speeding by, and if it's speeding by, I'm going to let it speed by eating nothing but ice cream sandwiches.
I think that's the best way to do it. Because you know what, you blink your eyes and now you're 460 pounds, but you've enjoyed a lot of ice cream sandwiches.
Let me tell you something. You get to a certain point, and like my grandfather, when he got older, he couldn't eat a lot of stuff. Just couldn't eat a lot of stuff because of all the various.
Or didn't want to. Or too old to give
was not allowed.
Shit.
Was not allowed.
Oh, okay.
Because of a bunch of medical stuff that he was going through. And you know what, man? If everything's gonna go by in a blink, I feel like he should have loaded up on more of that stuff that he wasn't allowed to eat.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the central question of life is, do you enjoy every moment to its fullest and live a shorter life? Or do you preserve your life, be good to yourself, but deny yourself some joy?
This isn't fair.
Well, I agree with that.
I said it. This isn't fair.
Life isn't fair.
It's not fair because it's not fair.
Now we're old guys saying how life isn't fair.
When I'm 7, like half of my perceived, what a waste. What a fucking waste. The first 3 years of that, nobody even remembers.
Right.
And even if you do, what are you going to remember? Being some sort of idiot that can't use his own hands? That's stupid. What a dumb thing to remember as being a quarter of your life. And then it's like, it's a bunch of
hands do?
Yeah, it's just a bunch of crying and you can't even write your own name and you like dumb shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucked up. It's fucked up. I wish you could pick which 7 years
that'd be so
were the
great.
were the proportionally longest years of your life.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
The tough part would be is if you had to pick 7 consecutive years.
I think you do.
I think
Let's
that would
say
be
you
the
have
tough
to pick
part.
a block.
Because it'd be great to be able to pick and choose a year here and a year there. But if you had to pick a 7-year chunk, I still think it would have already happened.
I would, yeah. Well, I mean, I think I would probably compress everything up until about maybe 25. And I would do 7 years from 25. I think that's what I want to perceive as half my life. That already feels like the longest portion of my life to me.
Yeah. The years at 25?
Yeah, from 25
like
to 32. Yeah.
Really? I don't know. I mean, I do think back to my childhood and feel like the weird thing is when I remember my childhood, I remember, oh my God, I was doing this and I was doing that. And I don't know if I was doing that throughout my childhood or if there was like one summer where I was doing that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like I was always going out in the backyard and doing this and that. It's like, well, was I always doing that? Or was there like one month where I got really into doing that?
Right.
You know? Was I shooting baskets in the backyard all the time?
Have you ever sat down and tried to, I did this recently and I don't know why. Have you ever sat down and been like, okay, I am going to consecutively go through my life and try to put my memories in order. Have you ever done that?
I have never done that, but just thinking about it sort of briefly makes me think that all autobiographies are horseshit.
Yeah. Well, because
it's impossible to me.
I was trying to do it by connecting things, right? I was like, okay, if I can connect the order that I worked my jobs in from the time I was a teenager and try to connect those to where I remember living, and then like, can I kind of remember who I was hanging out with, what I was doing?
Right.
Can I put all this stuff together? The answer is no. I can't. It's all a jumble.
But don't you also have those experiences where you hang out with someone that you haven't seen in a long time and they tell you a story to you about you that you do not remember at all?
Oh, yeah.
But to them was very significant and they remember with real clarity, and they're telling you things that sound like things you would do, but you have no actual memory of it?
Sure. I mean, listen, Jeff, I'm very important to a lot of people's lives. I'm
Well.
sort of a touchstone for the human experience.
Yes. So there's people coming up to you all the time and telling
and
you
I
stories.
can't remember everyone.
No.
You know,
why would you? You
I
shouldn't
can't
be
remember
expected
everyone
to.
whose souls I've touched.
Right. They really only just want that contact, just a brief moment next to your glow. That's all they're looking for.
No,
anyway.
but here's the thing. For me, when people come up and do that, it's because I always assume that it is because of how heavily I abused substances in my younger years. So I'm always like, yeah, sure, you probably have a story about me and I'm probably a dick and I'm really sorry. I'm sorry about that story.
You should find comfort in the fact that I also have that happen, don't remember, and I didn't abuse anything. So
Man.
I often am going, I did that? I don't remember.
But it's all
doing
like,
that.
but it's all like really nice stuff. It's like people are just like, people come up to me and they're like, you remember that time you were at that party and you were totally wasted and you started smashing stuff and yelling at everybody? And like people come up to you and it's like, do you remember that time that you helped me organize my socks? And we just sat and we organized socks and we drank tea and we had just like a really nice, like that's people. And you're like,
I don't remember that at all. It does sound like something I would do, but it's I don't remember.
Do you remember that time that we were like pulling the wings off of beetles and like smashing I'm sorry, you're Jeff Kanata?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're Anthony.
Uh-huh.
You remember that time we were smashing stuff and pulling the wings off of beetles?
Yeah, a little different. I don't know. I do think though that any autobiography that I read can't possibly be true. It's all it's like I would say 60% fiction.
Well, I mean, there is that thing that we've discussed before where recalling a memory is not a retrieval action.
Right.
It is a rewriting action.
Right.
So in order to access a memory, you have to replay it. And by replaying it, your brain is reprocessing it and you will rewrite that memory every time you remember it. So by the time people it's so funny because you'll read autobiographies. Or I was watching The Death of Superman Lives, that documentary about the Nick Cage, Tim Burton.
Yeah.
And they talk a lot about John Peters, this guy who's like a notorious asshole weirdo producer.
Yeah.
And Kevin Smith has this very popular story about John Peters where John Peters tells him, you can't fly and you can't wear the suit and I want him to fight a giant spider.
Yeah.
And they're cutting between Kevin Smith telling this story and John Peters going, no, I would never say that. I would never say that. But then other people will corroborate it and be like, oh yeah, he definitely said that.
Right.
And I think people just sort of, number one, every time you remember something like I said, your brain kind of retrieves it again and will try to focus in on whatever the lesson or the most important part is for you at this moment. So if you're remembering something that happened to you when you were 7, you're remembering it as a 47-year-old man because you're 47 years old.
I'm not.
And
God damn it.
Whatever you need, in your post midlife crisis life, whatever lesson it is that you need to glean from this memory,
And I'll be happy.
is what your brain will remember and it will ascribe that importance to it.
Sweet embrace of death.
And then above and beyond that, everybody wants to remember themselves in a pleasant way.
Right.
So
you rewrite your own narrative with you as the hero.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
Sure. Can I tell you a story that happened last night, and I'm not making this up, and
Sure.
I'm going to regret telling it to you because of your stupid meme that you're creating that I'm old?
Uh-huh.
So last night, I get...
You're not old. 47 is the prime of
I'm
life.
not 47. I'm going to regret this.
Well, you look great for 47. I don't know how old you really are, but for 47, you look wonderful.
So I'm going to regret telling you this. I'm basically putting ammunition in your gun right now, but I get out of this movie screening and it's late-ish, but I realized I didn't
Late-ish
have dinner.
being 9.
Yeah, it's about 9.
Okay.
I mean, late-ish for dinner, but I hadn't had dinner, so I go through the drive-through on the
For
way
an older
home.
person.
Yeah. So I'm going through the drive-through and I pull up to pay, and a nice young lady who is working there. My order isn't quite ready, so she's very sweet. She says, "Oh, thank you for smiling." I say, "Oh, that's nice of you to say." And she kind of strikes up some small talk as we're sitting there, and she says, "Oh, how's your week going? How was your weekend?" I said, "It's fine." She's like, "Oh my gosh, I was partying last night." And I said, "Oh, that's a bummer. You have to work the day after you're partying." And she's like, "Yeah, it's cool. It was fun." I said, "Well, what did you do?" She's like, "Well, we went over to a friend's house. We got a kegger, And I was like, "Oh, that sounds fun." She's like, "Yeah, you probably did stuff like that when you were young."
Ah! And the answer is no, you didn't. The answer is no.
I did some stuff.
The answer is no, you did not. You were organizing socks and drinking tea.
That's not true. I hate tea. She didn't say you did stuff like that when you were younger.
When you were young.
She said when you were young.
Yeah.
And it was as if she stabbed me in the heart.
Sure.
It was the worst
Are you sure
thing.
was it that she stabbed you in the heart, or did you take your heart pills?
Well, I hadn't had my heart pills.
So that could be it.
So maybe that was what it was. And I started hyperventilating, and I had to get home in time to watch Matlock. Sure. It was a rough night, but I'm not old. I mean, it's a fun ha-ha time, but I'm not old. No, the takeaway from that and how it relates to this story, I think, is that, again, something my father used to say to me all the time is he used to say, I don't feel any different than you feel.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. Like, I don't feel any different than that young girl felt.
My mother calls it wearing a responsible adult costume.
Right.
She feels like she is no different than she was.
But we are.
We're hugely different.
Right. But we don't think we're different because the
time has compressed.
The vast amount of time that takes up our memory space, our perspective, is that time when we were young. We still have all of that as the largest portion of what constitutes our self identification.
Dude, I've got almost nothing before the age of 14.
Really?
Yeah, and I wonder am I part of some government program or something? Because
Maybe.
I literally have I have very few. Now, I had a very unhappy childhood. So I'm kind of like, I feel like maybe I just was like, fuck that shit. Who needs it? But yeah, I don't have a lot of it.
Really?
I don't have a lot of it.
Riding bikes and...
I mean, I have some of that, yeah, but I wouldn't say that it feels like the longest time of my life or the most vivid or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, I have some memories of doing that, but I don't know. And I understand that this article is more about the overall perception of time's passage and not about like what's most important, you know? So I do get that. Yeah. I mean, time is rushing by just as fast for me, whether or not I choose to hold on to those memories.
Right.
But man,
does it feel like a year goes by in a snap of, I mean, we've been doing the show a year. It doesn't feel like to me
that surprised me. That shit surprised me. I felt like we've been doing it for 6 months.
Yeah.
Because it just hasn't gotten any better. I thought it would be better by now.
Easier, better. More fun.
Yeah, any of that stuff. But none of it.
No.
It's
just a year later is all it is.
Yep. It's just like a card came up, a title card came up. It was like 1 year later.
Yeah.
Shit was exactly the same. No, I will say this. I think there are a lot of factors that go into this. Number one is obviously this that they're talking about, where it's the overall reference of time. And then number two, boy, a year somehow goes by faster because LA doesn't have seasons.
Oh, see, that's not something I have any point of reference for because I've never had seasons in my life.
It just feels like time just slides by because there's nothing to mark any passage for me.
Yeah.
And so that kind of gets weird. Florida felt like that for me too, which is one of the things I absolutely hated about Florida is like, everything just feels so samey every day.
Right.
That it's like, it's hard to grab onto anything and be like, okay, that's time passing.
Yeah. It's interesting. The article says that waiting 24 days for Christmas at age 5 literally feels like waiting a year at age 54.
I buy that. I super buy that. Because now, I mean...
Because Christmas creeps up on me, bro.
I remember...
Speaking as a 54-year-old man.
Yeah, thinking, wow, already? How long have we been doing this show?
Yeah, I know.
You were 47 when we started.
This episode has been 6 years long.
But I've done that where this year was the first year I actually thought to myself, oh, well, there's no way I'll get that done by Halloween. Halloween is just like right around the corner.
Yeah.
I was just like, Halloween, it's like practically here. I might as well give up.
Oh, I know. It's ridiculous. and I'll have conversations with my family now of like, so what are the plans for Thanksgiving? Who's coming where? I'm like, it's June. We're talking about Thanksgiving plans. It's June. I don't want to even think about that.
And you're like, thank you for bringing it up because we really do have to get on top of this.
Yeah.
And then everybody sips from their giant tea mug. The whole family's like that. His whole family.
I don't like tea. That's the only part of the characterization that I'll object to.
It's just lukewarm water
I hate
with a
hot
little bit of
drinks.
lemon.
You should know that.
I know
about
you
me.
do. I know you do.
They disturb me.
I know.
Drinks should be cold. Warm.
But you don't like
liquid is
cold.
soup.
But you don't like iced tea either.
That's true.
You don't
But
like.
at least it has the decency to be cold.
What do you drink? Just water?
I do just drink water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing
I also
else
like
for you?
fruit juice, but I drink that very rarely.
Mm-hmm. Because at your age.
I'm boring.
I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? About this? Do you think this article is correct? Would you say that the first 7 years of your life seem to take up an inordinately large amount of time in your brain? We would love to hear about that. You can let us know on Twitter. I'm at @Carboni.
I'm at Jeff Canada.
You can hashtag those big cup of tea. And hey, if
I'm going to regret this episode.
you're going to
100%.
hugely regret it,
Yeah.
but
But you know
on the
what?
bright
It'll
side, you don't have that much more life to regret it.
Yeah.
It's
It
almost
doesn't
over.
seem as bad as all those mistakes I made at 7.
I owe so many people money from when I was 7.
So many regrets.